And we're back with a question and answer session with Chelsea Sanchez and Mr. Red J. We talked about VR. It was more of me being like, VR is kind of cool, and Chachi and Red J being like, all right, kid, let me tell you a little bit about VR. All right, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need that, you're gonna need this, and But what about what about the Samsung Home Vision X2 Pro? Oh no, it's not as good as the Max XL Home Vision from VisionWorks. So if I'm a little out of touch, it's just like I'm very very casual, but it was very cool.
He's just holding on for dear life at this point.
So if you want to hear some cool stuff, watch the last video. It'll be above Chachi Sanchez's head, and then of course if you want to, if you're listening to this on the podcast, you already heard this already. But it's great. We talked a lot about Star Citizen and VR, but we also talked about like how to get into VR for Star Citizen and what it means that Star Citizen is moving in that VR direction. So these are questions taken directly from the chat. So I'm going to pull up the first question, which is from Iris Dreadtide, who asks, does that mean Chachi is directly responsible for civilians setting up the official VR support? Official VR support. For those of you who know, go ahead.
I may or may not have been poking Sylvan. However hard I may poke the past 4 or 5 years since I, known him and met him and realized he was the guy, because he's always been making forum posts like, yeah, I work on the engine team. I'm working on Gen 12. I hope to bring VR to, Star Citizen. And, I've been, hollering at him and touching like, hey man, like, it works pretty well with third party. Just turn it back on, man. Just let us flip the switch and let us play again. And so, yeah, me indirectly bugging him and all the hype that I kept generating from just doing it with third-party tools and just like, look, this is possible now. They added head tracking. Look, I can do this with this thing, Yeah, I don't want to say that was a determining factor, but it definitely, helped.
I always say that Star Citizen is a community for crazies. All of us are insane. We are not stable human beings for following this game. It's so like if we and so like it's not crazy to know that people have made custom game controllers for Star Citizen or been like, I'm going to see if I can't hack VR support, and I'm waiting for the day when someone says I beat Star Citizen or I beat Squadron 42 using the DK bongos from GameCube controller.
I'm actually looking into getting MIDI out through my piano that I would hook into my drum set. Then I could play my electric drum set and beat Squadron 42 with it in VR as well as cool.
I mean,
now that it's got native support on launch, so.
If you want to know my weird sort of obsession is I want CIG to have MIDI controllers in games so players can play music in the game.
If they had a MIDI controller and I could walk up to a piano and then go to my piano on stream and play it. Yes. Oh my God, that would be crazy. Holy moly.
I don't think it'll be like one-to-one. It won't be one-to-one like hand movements, but like you could probably get something close to it with
they could just
tracking.
give me like, 2 octaves.
Yeah,
I'll be happy, and you could pay me to play on an 890 jump in the atrium in the forum and stuff.
The coolest thing is that like I played Lord of the Rings online for a while, and one of the cool things you could do was you could literally play a lute by hitting the right keys, and you could set up a program that would like an auto script that would run that would play like a bunch of different songs, and if you were good enough at like you could play like full blown like Enter the Sandman, Stairway to Heaven, all the stuff on this loop.
Have you Oculus CV1, the Oculus Rift, the OG Rift came out first, right? Then a year later they dropped the hand controllers as extra, right? The game that came with the touch controllers was
Was it Rock
Rock
It
Band.
was.
It
Okay.
had this little dongle that came in the actual box, and you could slip in your controller into it, and it would track where the guitar neck was. And it wasn't Rock Band like the notes come at you and you play and you know what they want you to, and like a sheet music. It's what I call cover band hero. You basically are a cover band and you're playing covers of song, and you get to play, like, do you play this rock ballad? You can physically strum it like a freaking, you know, a death metal song if you wanted to.
Yeah.
All you got to do is just match the hand positioning where it lines up with the chords, and it'll play the song like you're playing a cover of it. It's cover band hero. It's amazing. It's one of the coolest games in VR because you play the guitar solo on the guitar solo part, and you shoot lasers and lights and beams and orbs and stuff come out of the guitar and go into the crowd, and they all cheer at you. And it's great. You should really check this out if you got VR. If you have you needed the dongle that adapts. I guess it only works with the Quest 1. Man, I guess nobody else can play that game, huh? Because you need that dongle that hooks onto the back of it to set the controller up. I'm sure somebody's 3D printed something, but it's a fantastic game.
All right, so Scape asks, question: if you have experience with multiple headsets, which is better for which variable? Form factor, fit, visual quality, longevity, etc. We talked about it a little bit, but I'll ask you, Red J, first because I want to hear your stuff. Is what is the best? Let's just go with form factor and fit for the first one. What's the best form factor? In terms of, I guess form factor is like just like the bulkiness of it. Headset that you've experienced.
So I would say that the Index out of the box is a really good experience, and they put a lot of work into that. It's very comfortable in your head, and it's well balanced. Before we go any further, I want to note one little thing. So if you put a brick on the front of your head, the back of your head is naturally being pulled forward, right?
Yeah.
But if you put, say, a battery pack on the back of your head, that's called a counterweight. So don't look directly at like the amount of grams and weight, etc., that you have on your head. It's about where is that weight stationed? Like where is it put around your head? So it's more natural. And the headsets that tend to have weights on the back, Vision Pro just had the dual knit strap added on the M5s, and you can buy it as an accessory. I put that on my Vision Pro, and I really liked it and it snuck in a couple tiny, tiny tungsten weights on the back strap. You don't even feel them, but they're there. And the weight added, that little tiny bit, makes a huge difference in comfort as well as the top strap. But anyway, the Index out of the box is probably one of the best I've ever had. The M5 on the Vision Pro is great. And in general, I think the frame is going to be good because it has the battery pack snuck in on the back of the headset. You can also clip a lot of battery packs that are off to the side on the back. But then there's also headsets that don't even have a battery. That takes weight off your head. So that's a whole nother ball game. And also, if you put something on the back of your head, if you lean your head back against a recliner or the back of your computer chair, now all of a sudden that is something that's annoying you. So I think it depends on what your use cases are and what your comfort level is. If you're piloting a 747 across the ocean for 8 hours, you know, you might have a different experience than somebody who's jumping around in an FPS or something like that on their feet now and then. So keep that in mind too. Counterbalance only really helps when you're not like in a like constant chair position.
I'll also ask you about fit, and then we'll ask Chachi the same two questions and move on with Chachi as well. Fit in terms of like, and I'm thinking with fit, it's more of a how comfortable is it to sit on your face beyond just like the weight, but also like the like, you know,
yeah.
So we talked about it before, like because I've done this before as well. You get sweaty, you can get very hot with that thing on your face because it's pushed against your eyes and your the heat. Like I have glasses that I'll put in underneath it, and it's like the glasses will get fogged up very quickly because of how much stuff is going on. So it was what's the best sort of fit that you've experienced for like face mold?
Vive Index, Valve Index, and Vive. When I was running that before it, both have that after a few hours sweat effect where I got to take a break or at the very least whatever. Vision Pro has active cooling, and it actually properly cools where you're at very, very, very well. although it does come at a cost. It runs on batteries, and if you don't keep leaving plugged in charging while you're running it, having a cord dangling, I've noticed that the more it runs those fans, the less lifespan you have, especially on the high streaming from a computer or something like that with a high frame rate and everything else. A lot going on. Uh, the biggest thing I would say is fit wise. I think the biggest one is big screen VR. I think somebody mentioned that in chat already earlier. That's a fully customized fit and finish, and it's very small, as you mentioned, Paul. It's very, very small. I have never used one, but I have heard good things about it from some friends in VR chat. And it's more of a second headset. You already have controllers. You already have this. You already have that, and you're just kind of using this as a niche case type item that's very comfortable. And then again, back to comfort, because the Vision Pro Apple ecosystem uses different they literally LiDAR scan your face, and then they give you different straps based on what comfort you are, and different foam molds. It is extremely comfortable, especially with the dual knit strap that came out recently. Even better. So I would say on those. But as workhorses, I have never run into a headset where I could not just wear it. Although to be fair, just full disclosure, I don't wear glasses. So that is a whole nother topic. If you had somebody who's a glasses user, who's a power user on VR, that would probably be really good as a guest too, because they have a completely different perspective. But I'll leave it there.
Well, I could fill in that perspective. So
Go ahead.
I wear. Oh, did you?
No, I was just saying, go ahead, Chachi. The same question
Okay,
for you: form and
so-
fit.
Yeah. So as far as things fitting, let's just go straight into if you have glasses and whatnot. Um, I would highly recommend if you don't wear contacts, don't like contacts. Um, if you have a set of glasses that are small, thin, and not big, gigantic, thick frames, something that can fit easily inside of your gasket that has a little bit of wiggle room, you're going to be a lot more comfortable getting it on and off all the time than if you had bigger, thicker frames and whatnot. Now, if your prescription and your frames aren't doable, or you want to not wear glasses at all, because again, like Paul said, you'll have the hot, sweaty glasses if you don't have a fan pointing directly at you. And that's also one of the things that I recommend. Have the fan on, or buy a little separate fan to just blow into your face, on your face area. That'll help you just play for more and longer. With that being said, the next thing that I would say is that if in general for fits, like Red J was right. I haven't really felt a bad fitting headset. It's just kind of how tight it clings to my face. I'm a big 6 foot, 2 tall guy. I got a thick, giant neck. I've never been uncomfortable or had issues, even with the big, gigantic Pimaxes, that are like 2 bricks on your face, right? The thing about it though is that it all depends on what you are doing in VR. Like I said, I have no problems with neck strain, except when I played a dice rolling dungeon table card game, and when I played a pinball game in VR. In a pinball game, you're looking down. With a brick strapped to your face, looking down, that adds weight on your neck. And yeah, half an hour of pinball, I was dying. And the next day it got worse because I played more VR. Not pinball, but just in general. So it all depends on what you are doing at the end of the day. So going back to the glasses thing, if you didn't want to get new frames or didn't have a thin set, they sell prescription lenses that will fit any headset that will take your prescription. So basically, these are 3D printed. You send in the specs and your numbers to them, and they'll basically pop them out and ship them to you, and you buy whichever type of headset you have, and they'll be perfectly molded to fit right on top of them, and that way you can take off your glasses and be able to see inside of them. On top of that, the last thing I have to say, I don't remember if I said this earlier or if I said this on the start of this one, but like the first thing I do is swap out the foam gasket for a leather one. Yep. And what that does is if you're sweating, you can easily get my hand towel. Anyways, you get all sweaty with the leather, you could wipe it down really quickly and easily. If you have the foam, it soaks into it and stuff like that. Now, what I will say on final fit, with the leather face gasket, that pushes your face further back. VR is designed as a keyhole thing. If you're looking through a keyhole, the further you are from the keyhole, the less of the room on the other side you see, right? The closer you can get to the keyhole, the wider the FOV gets, right? So I had an issue where I went from the QLED on the Pimax to the OLED, and I noticed a significant FOV drop. I readjusted the leather gasket, and just a little bit of readjustment gave me like 5-6 degrees of FOV. And in VR, that is crazy difference. You think you notice FOV differences when you're on the desktop, you really notice a drop of like 2 or 3 degrees when you're in VR. Because I literally can tell between like the 126 FOV QLED versus the 116 OLED and versus like the 108 on the index. And I could tell like back to back when you're swapping between them, you notice FOV immediately more so than the quality in the headset and the panel itself. So if that is something that you're looking for, as far as just, overall fit, Pimaxes have the widest amount of room. Index is a solid size and fit. Quest 3 feels okay, but it is going to be a little bit tighter, less breathing room. And then something like a big screen Beyond, is right up on your face, like fitting and hugging it, like a pair of ski goggles. So I can't speak for anything other than those because I don't own them. So still muted.
Sorry, I was typing things out.
You're good.
The last two, I'll start with you, Chachi, then move on to Red J, is visual quality and longevity. So what's a good headset for someone who wants like visual quality? I think you probably just said the Pimax, right? Like the huge,
so Pimax
that's
is
expensive.
Definitely pushing. Yeah, if you want if you have like a 5090 and you're wanting to run 4K, 8K VR and like the end most of the road of what's possible right now on a tier 0 alpha MMO implementation of VR, yeah, Pimax is going to be pushing the limits as what's possible. And you will need the limits of PC power to do that. But, you could slap on any old headset and still have a really fun time, especially in Star Citizen. So,
and then the last one was longevity. Like, I'm guessing just like how long you can wear them.
Is that like how long they last? Because there's like foam pad issues on the old CV1s and DK ones I could talk about, but if you're talking about like longevity for staying in the headset,
I was gonna say
like that's
just for like longevity. I bought this 9 years ago and it still works. So like
that's not bad considering how many monitors I've thrown away in that same time. So
they generally work as long as you have a monitor. They'll work as long as you monitor. I think generally, and the same problems you'd have with OLED, OLED and QOLED monitors would still happen with these same things. But I think
if we are talking about longevity as far as play session time, then that's a different factor. Mm-hmm. Again, it all comes down to you pick your poison with VR. What are you going to be doing in Star Citizen? Are you hopping in and out Arena Commander? Are you going to be space trucking for a few hour-long sessions? Are you going to be like me, who's team captain of a Daymar Rally all VR team and needs to have 8 to 12 hour continuous playtime? I can't use batteries. I need to be driving for 4, 6, 8 hours. I need pre-race time for 2 hours. If you have super long play sessions, then maybe Steam Frame, Quest 3, wireless headsets with batteries aren't going to be for you. You'll need like a fully tethered experience. So it's all how you are going to interact with Star Citizen in VR. And a lot of people don't realize that they're going to do it full time until they hop into it. So you got to see it to believe it, which is why I do the voodoo that I do.
Reggie, same question for you for those last ones. The longevity thing and the, what he said? He said do longevity and visual quality.
Visual quality, I'm again, I'm the perspective of the mid-ranger here. 4070 Ti upgraded from a 2080, and both had good experiences, but the 4070 Ti I absolutely needed to capture what I'm doing. So if you're doing content creation or just, hey, I'm just streaming to my friends, like if you're doing something like that, you got to keep in mind your overhead is so much more than if you're just running VR. So keep that in mind. So longevity wise, what I'm getting at is it's almost prohibitive to go to like an insanely high 4K resolution panels running in your HMD. But unless you have the supercomputer to run it, which is great. But again, the biggest fear I've run into, I don't know, a half dozen people over the years I've talked with that have always had the fear of, I don't want to buy this, and then it's a paperweight in a year. And you won't have that. I could pull my Vive out right now and go play Star Citizen, which is insane. I wouldn't
So
want to. I have better options, but it is an option. So for me, longevity, if we're talking about the length of time, I mean, Paul just showed a great piece of hardware right there. I mean, these things have long time periods that you can run. I don't sweat that. But if we're talking about gameplay wise, don't go below, use an index as like your midpoint. Like if you're buying used,
yeah.
like at the minimum an index and at least one lighthouse and be happy, and a kit like that. But at the minimum, and then on the higher end, try to look at mid-range at the least. If you're buying new, don't go too old, especially if it's something where you want to do other stuff aside from just VR. We off channel we were talking between these things about like XR stuff coming up, like Apple's technology and Steam Frame wanting to run Linux on the side. But at the end of the day, as we all say, it needs to run VR well, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of these products. And it's a very hot market. Pimax is doing some crazy stuff. Apple's doing some crazy stuff. Valve obviously is doing some amazing things too. And Samsung, I truly believe their next kick at the apple is going to be pulling a lot of market share if they decide to go down that route and put a proper Snapdragon in next time. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with what's reality now, and I will say that you can't go wrong with any of these, and you will be, as Chachi mentioned, comfort level for long periods of time. Don't be afraid of batteries, as long as you're okay with a USB-C cable hanging off of you and you have a tether for it. Don't sweat it.
A lot of people, again, this is all picking your poison on how you expect to play. We will know that Star Citizen is going to have touch motion support, possibly, room scale VR of some sort. So if you're got the space to walk around, or if you're the guy who sits in a cockpit, keep that in mind when you're making these ideas and purchases and stuff. I personally play in a cockpit fully dedicated to playing in VR. I don't have monitors on it. I don't have anything else that outside that I would need for VR to just hop in and play it there. That way, my desktop can just be the desktop, and I don't have to mix and match and swap in and out. I did have to buy a whole cockpit to do this, but that's one of the things that I hear a lot is like people yeah, I don't want to get into VR because I don't have room at my desk, or I have no room to play it at all, room scale or desktop or otherwise. So just figure out how you're going to interact with it. And a lot of people don't know how they'll do it until they actually get it in their hands. So, but yeah. Sorry to interrupt you on that, Red.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Sorry, it's a big question. It's a wide question, especially because of the two different longevities. What was the other one? Was it comfort or form factor?
That's not. Yeah. We talked about that already. Comfort and form factor. We talked about that earlier. But it was
Gotcha.
more of
Okay.
it was like longevity and
What was the other one?
I'm looking right here. Visual quality.
Visual quality, don't go below. The screen door effect is very, very real. Use the index as your base level. Go to the specs of an old index, take a look at that, and anything above that, you're going to have a good time. Unless like you're looking to do something, you want the absolute max, look at the Pimaxes and other products like that have the 4K screens.
I
And
agree with
above.
Red J there completely. I had the DK2 CV1, and as soon as I popped on the index, that's when the screen door effect finally was gone.
Yeah.
It's definitely low resolution compared to something like a Pimax, but I didn't know that until years later. It was amazing still for the time. So Screen door effect definitely seems to be the index as like the point where we got the headset and pixel density down small enough to where it was not completely gone, but it's like you have to really, really focus to notice it instead of it just being a thing
And
that
the
you're always
index
dealing with.
and the index runs at 120 hertz reliably, and then it
Yep.
even when it doesn't, absolute like hardest hitting it 90 hertz.
Yep.
It
And especially you're going
experimentally
to
to
get at least
124.
90 hertz no matter what. So
Yeah, so you're going to have a lot less VR legs issues, and I'm feeling queasy issues as well on that. Use that as your guidepost. If it doesn't meet at least the specs of an index, it's not worth your time.
and
If
remember
you're buying
that
it now, I'm not picking on your stuff you already own, guys.
Yeah.
and remember that how good your VR experience is directly correlated to how good your hardware and equipment is. I was watching the Space Tomato video, and Pimax, the poor Space Tomato, he is in the same situation that I was. He had like a 3080 or a 3080 Ti, and they sent him a Crystal Super. And yeah, I wasn't able to get more than 20 FPS on mine until I got my 5090. So your VR experience is directly correlated to how good your hardware is on both sides, the VR side and the GPU side. So
I'm gonna ask a separate question, just in general. I'm looking up what this card was. I just remember the name of it. I can't remember what it's called. Um, the 79 XTX, 7900 XTX, which is the AMD card. It has I think 24 gigabytes of GDR6.
Yep.
Would that be a decent card for running those like heavy like nom?
It's in theory, yes, but right now, from what I gather, everybody with the 5090 and most importantly, NVIDIA drivers are having a lot better time on Pimax than AMD drivers. It's not to say that it can't run. Theoretically, the numbers say it should, but a lot of people are saying that, yeah, the NVIDIA, because it's that DLSS, DLLA super sampling AI tech that's way, way better on NVIDIA side. That's pulling a lot of weight. Again, 4-star Citizens, tier 0 alpha game.
Yeah.
VR support.
Yeah.
This is so you're pushing so many, levels of technicality as what, computers and VR headsets can do. And yeah, I'm at the absolute limit, doing what I do with my 4K VR headset and streaming and stuff. So,
all right. So, we're going to do this pretty quickly because that was like 2 questions.
Yeah.
And we're at 30 minutes. So, I think a lot of this stuff we can blitz through them a little bit more. I'll start with you, Reggie, on this one. The prisoner asks, any opinion on the big screen VR headset? It does have a bigger FOV than the Pimax Dream.
Okay, so the big screen, I don't have direct experience with it, but I do have a few friends who have went out and got one. And I saw actually, I think it's Bradley was like involved with developing it. And I like his content. I was watching his videos on it and such while he was working on it and kind of coming to fruition. It's a secondary VR headset. For many people, it's not like your first whack at the apple. It's like, hey, I have my main headset, but I want to wear this and watch like movies back to back with my friends in VR chat or something like that.
It
Like,
does not come with lighthouses or controllers, correct? It's just a
right.
headset.
It's literally like I want to buy this as an alternative to my headset, and I want to have a good time with my friends. It was directly marketed as more social in its nature. That doesn't mean you can't use it in VR in Star Citizen or another game, but you need to go buy all that extra hardware. It doesn't come as a package, and I think it's a great, neat niche headset. I do think it's not as robust as some of them that are designed to handle heat better, and while you're jumping around and other things like that in a full VR experience. Just a heads up. But for certain, again, what are you doing with it? That's kind of the game, I would say. They have decent screens in them for their time, and the fit is very, very good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and basically all of their screens are them showing them it basically in a movie theater, a digital movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like having a digital.
That was their app.
Yeah. It's basically it's their
They
hardware
had
for you being able to just watch some movies and like get an entertainment and a full VR experience. So
Yeah, and it was an
Who doesn't want
alternative
to
to
have an
VR
IMAX?
chats movies too. Like it was meant to be like you could legally go watch movies with your friends that were brand new right out the
Mhm.
door, And it is not in VR chat, which is a boon to some folks who really don't like VRC, which is fine too. But I happen to run into three of my friends like the big screen VR in VR chat.
Who doesn't want an IMAX theater in their living room?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Any other opinions from you, Chachi, on it?
everybody who's gotten the big screen beyond says it's great at the thing it does, which is ergonomics. If the super wide FOV, hang on, like if something like this is just going to be way, way, way too big and bulky for you, right? Then there's just only one choice on the market as far as headset designers that are going for the ergonomics instead of the FOV and performance. So, big screen beyond, hands down, if that's the important thing for you. But some people are, visual quality over everything else, or some people prefer FOV to be as wide as possible. Like as soon as someone has a drop in FOV, and when they've had when you tasted a really good steak, and you go back to your regular crappy steak, are you gonna be satisfied anymore? So
Yeah.
when you get a drop in FOV, it's the most significant thing I would say, besides super drop in resolution or clarity. Like the FOV is like one of the biggest things that you notice swapping from headset to headset, but literally 1% of 1% of the population is even able to do that. Most people just have the headset they buy, and it's a thing that nobody will even notice until they're actually comparing from unit to unit.
And can I add one more thing? Is that
Before-
you can only use it yourself. So just keep that
Yes,
in mind. You
the
can't
big
share it with
screen
your
beyond
friends,
is
your family.
for you. You face gasket 3D print your actual scanned face with a phone app, and it fits you. There's a universal adapter face gasket thing, but like it is meant to be your headset.
So the question is, it was comparing it to specifically the Pimax Dream.
So the Dream. Okay, so the Dream is basically going to be the Pimax OLED.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a Pimax Super, the Supers have these visual units in them. This is the QLED that I came with. I swapped out for the OLED unit that they sent me to test out and stuff. You basically hit these two buttons and you pull out the displays, and you can swap out another one. You want the ultra wide, you can swap it in there. You want the OLED, pop it in there. You want the QLED, pop it in there, right? So that's what's kind of nice about Pimax, is a lot of people don't even know that this is a thing, is that they have their visual optical engines that you could literally buy separate and swap in the same unit. That only works with the Crystal Super. The Crystal Light does not have that feature. So yeah, that is just another little tiny layer with Pimax. So if we're comparing to the Dream Air, the Dream Air has the OLED units from the Crystal Super, but in a smaller, tiny ergonomic form factor, kind of like the big screen beyond, but not as crazy as it is with the full, 3D printing, scanning your face thing.
So you'd say generally the big screen beyond is more of a the big screen is more of a entertainment generally perspective, or is
it can be used for gaming and stuff, but yeah, it's like for those that, again, you don't get controllers.
Yeah.
It doesn't come with lidars or sensor towers. You have to buy that. It's not the I'm gonna get a first headset, I'm gonna buy a big screen. This is for somebody who already has VR and wants the ergonomic form factor.
Yeah.
So
okay. All right. Next question, and this is a good kind of general discussion question. Iris says, Red J mentioned that VR chat is only as good as the company you keep. This immediately made me think of global chat and the reasons that every content creator I've watched keeps it off stream. With VR getting more and more implemented, does this require CIG to address non-technical blind spot that they've had with this entire process? What would you like to see CIG do? They're already kind of doing it with the updates to the social systems, being able to ban people, like restrict it. I think the only thing I would say is CIG needs to have an option for us to only see friends or friends and org members in chat, so we can
They need
reduce that.
tabs
Yeah.
of chat that we can create and customize, just like any MMO. You know, like I want my auction hall tab, I want my guild tab, my party tab. You know.
Is that going to prevent somebody from walking up and, with their hands go like, fuck you, man, to your face? No, but in Star Citizen, there's nothing preventing you from pulling your gun out and shooting that guy in the face. Like, if he does that. So
it's going to be a lot more interesting. I don't think in like a bad way, because once people are, because like, if you're assuming that every single troll and, pirate is going to own a VR headset, and I'm thinking it's more the whimsical and, fun people that want to group and party up and hang out at a bar and wave their hands around in an MMO than the people who just want to, troll somebody. Now, I'm not saying there won't be people that exist like that, but like overall, I think a lot of the people are going to be more of a social people that are using the VR headsets, especially if we get something like, full body and hand tracking in Star Citizen, and you could literally just see people waving in Area 18,
So adding to that, the VR chat has figured this out mostly with the trusted user process, where you go all the way from like unknown to like known to a trusted user type thing, where people can set those in the settings to only see trusted users' avatars and only see the different things. But if somebody's acting egregious to you, two things. One, they have a personal space option. So if somebody like is within like 2 feet of you, you don't see their hands anymore and such. So like it's not like getting in your face, so to speak, and trying to like mess with you. And you can turn that on and off in the settings. And two, you can block people, so you don't see their avatar anymore. You don't even see them moving their arms around or anything. They're just like an autonomous android just floating there. But I know what you're saying. Well, that doesn't make any sense in Star Citizen. Well, actually, in the large planetary landing locations, like Area 18, like Lureville, you could have that implemented just in those places. So in those social atmospheres where, everyone's completely, not supposed to be able to hurt each other type thing without consequences, you could have it set up so people that are running VR can block each other's hand motions and such if they're acting egregious to you. You just simply point and click and it blocks all their movements and such. I can't speak for everything else, like trying to save global chat. I do think the tabs are a good idea, Chachi mentioned, though.
At the end of the day, what it needs is CIG to literally implement anything above the lowest bar possible in MMO chat history, which is freaking Baron's chat from Vanilla WoW. That's what it is. That's what Star Citizen is. It's Baron's chat from Vanilla World of Warcraft, right? Levels like what, 5 to 36 in one zone. People are there for like 3 weeks. It's 1,000 people all just spamming one chat. Meanwhile, Alliance is all separated by like, 3 or 4 levels per zone, only 50 to 100 people. Like, it's Baron's chat. That's the problem, right? As soon as we get actual social tools, anything more than Baron's chat, then I think a lot of these issues will be fixed. But that's just not something that they could just slap on top of. Like, it's like that. And so like, there's a couple other things that are like just placeholders from the very inception of when the game first came about. And chat is still one of those placeholders. They got, what do we need for a chat? Okay, people to talk to each other on one server. All right, and do this and that. All right, good, it's done. All right, tier 0 chat. You guys have that till we rework it. And that was when the game first started, and they have yet to give us anything more than that. So until we get our hands on the social tools, it's all kind of amorphous as far as how we will interact with them. But I agree, some stuff needs to be done on CIG's part sooner than later. Yesteryear, last year, more so than now.
Already. I mean, they recently added muting and blocking, so you can actually meet people
finally,
in chat, which is nice. So, occupational lob server asks, I'm sorry, occupational observer. That's the full name. Asks, do both Heartseekers have 6 HUDs?
So the Mark 1 Heartseeker with the 2-seater, that has 6 MFDs, right? Yes. The Mark 1C has 4 MFDs. The Mark 2C also has 4, and the Mark 2A has 2. For some reason, the most advanced, the latest version military has the least amount of MFDs. Not sure why they went that route, but that's one of the things I noticed in my cockpit compare video. So
does the Mark II Heartseeker have 6 or just 2?
no, Mark II-C has 4. Mark II-C Heartseeker.
Yeah,
I only have the Heartseeker in the Mark II-A, so it's got the 2. Okay. So I don't have a Heartseeker in non-A for Mark II. I'm a Hornet collector.
All right. So just Eric asks, what are some stats you would look at for a headset if you get your very first? What are stats not really for beginners, but also future proof? I think I'm not going to go over that because we've already kind of talked about that in general. I would say generally what we've said is you have to match your graphics card to what you have, to your GPU to your headset, and match that. But like in terms of future proof, I gotta pull this out again.
It
still works. Man. Yeah, it still works. 9 years and it still works with Star Citizen. So
we were running the DK1 from the CIG studios last week. Working. I got this to work. I haven't figured out head tracking, but this is literally the original prototype from Palmer Luckey that Chris Roberts was messing around with in 2012. So
how do you match?
Still works.
How do you match the GPU to the headset? Basically, whatever resolution you're playing in is going to have to match whatever headset you're using. So if you're using like a 1080, older headsets will work. If you're playing in 1440, newer sets will work. As you said before, it's like the index,
medium,
the
index
medium.
and Q3 and stuff.
If you look at the stats of their terms of their resolutions, they should match that resolution. If you're playing in it should match that resolution for the that. So 1440, and you look at the headsets and it says effectively 1440 per eye, then you're like, okay, cool. That will match with what I have. But the other thing is you said DLSS support,
DLSS, DLA, all that stuff,
and video card RAM, VRAM. How much VRAM it has?
Yeah, VRAM. How much?
Higher the VRAM, the better chance it's going to be able to work. And plus, but it's also like it just matches to your resolution you're already playing in. So.
And somebody mentioned 3080 running 4K. So yes, you can on desktop get away with like a 3080 running at 4K. Realize though, like the only thing, this is all good, but it ramps up exponentially as soon as you get into that 4K and above type situation. Like you can run a 3080 Ti and get like, decent FPS on 4K in Star Citizen, but that's 10 gigabytes of video RAM, and my 5090 has 32. And the difference between 10 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes on the Pimax Super is literally night and day. We're talking like 20 FPS versus 60 to 90 in dead of space. So just because you can run a 4K computer
can you run Star Citizen, can you
4K,
run three is the big thing.
3 4Ks. Yeah. Yes, that's one on each eye, and then your desktop.
If you can run 3 and your computer won't explode, then that's what you're looking at. So, and 1440, generally speaking, most cards that can run 1440 can probably run 3 displays in 1440, just natively. So, but 4K is the one where, as you said, there's not very many headsets that are 4K. It's just the Pimax, I think, is one of the few ones that are, and it's like
Pimax and the Apple, I think, is Apple's running 4K. Yeah.
Red J, you would know this.
So
it's like 36.
I don't think they officially say 4K. It's slightly below or above or something.
It's not like 3820. It's 3640 or something.
It might as well be 4K, and it does stream 4K from your remote desktops, but only one. A huge mistake they made was they used Wi-Fi 6E. So it's hard limited instead of using Wi-Fi 7 because the chipset they had was set up slightly before they actually rolled it out. Sorry for the long.
Unfortunate timing of the market.
Yes, but it is 4K streaming, and then it might as well be 4K on your face, and it is very, 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 very good. One of the other tricks they use is foveated rendering, so it's laser locked onto your eyes. Like it's very good. It's incredibly good. You don't notice it at all.
Pimax has things like quad view and foveated rendering and all this other tech that basically is just waiting in slumber for CIG to, develop and enable it. That will significantly reduce the overhead needed to run something like a Pimax. For those that aren't aware, quad views and foveated rendering, basically wherever your eyes are looking at on the screen, it's running and detailing that, and anything outside of that has a little bit less detail. Then it's focusing exactly how your real eyes work. The stuff in your periphery, is out of focus, and whatever you're looking at in the center is nice and clear. So tech like that is in the future. You don't have that now. If you're looking to run it now, be aware of what you're getting into now. But it all gets better from here. So,
Exactly.
all right. Lily Four Guy asks, do you think that controllers will be able to be used as sticks when in a ship? Yes.
I already have done this.
Yes.
So we have scripts over on the Verse Discord. It only works with the Oculus and hand controllers, because the guy who made them was not able to figure out how to get them to communicate with the Steam VR runtime and stuff. But this guy made these scripts that uses the gyrometers. The gyrometers that are built into these, because it needs to know where and how you're tilting, right? So it basically detects, like, it's a virtual HOTOS,
Yeah.
right? I pull it in camera here. I pull back on the stick, the ship will then fly up, all right? I push forward on it, like as if I'm grabbing a stick, right? I have like one in my left hand that I push it forward.
Yeah.
I push it forward, it acts like throttle. I go left, it's like, up, down, right? Exactly like a HOTOS. And those are scripts. It's not touch controllers. You're not reaching out and grabbing objects. You're using the gyrometers to translate XYZ axes and movement positions, right?
Yeah.
That's doable. We've done that with scripts to just hijack the control profiles in Star Citizen's commands. It's doable. So if we can hack it, Star Citizen could probably do it. One of the best, if you're not completely understand what I'm talking about, go look up a game called VTOL VR, VTOL VR. Yeah. It's literally, you can like look at this plane cockpit and reach out and grab and flip and touch dials and flip buttons, and you have to like literally do a 30 button start sequence to turn on the engine and stuff. Like warming up the batteries and getting the revs on and stuff, and just to get out of the runway and fly, right? So that game will not let you hook up your HOTOS, but you can reach out and grab the virtual HOTOS and fly like you would a joystick that you're handing. The only problem with that is that you got floaty hand problem, and it's not stuck to a desk that is in the same spot. So, but if you're looking in the cockpit where the joystick is, you put your hand where it is.
Where it is, you grab it.
That's where it is.
You'll be able to move.
Yeah, like
able to see it.
You're not putting your hand up here to fly. You're putting it down where it is that you see it. So you just don't have like an actual physical grip on something that is tethered. So yeah, we've done that. It's hackable. It should be doable if CIG wants to do it. Yeah. But again, we only got it to work with Quest controllers. So we have a whole channel dedicated to that.
Carlos72 asks, if you run an AMD 9070 XT, which headset is good? I have the 9070 XT. I would say, generally speaking, based off
Index
of our own
Quest 3 Index Quest 3-ish, like a Vive,
the
Sony
Steam,
VR2.
The Steam frame should be good for that one.
And yeah, Steam frame is comparable to a Quest 3. So
yeah, you're looking at like the high end normal ones,
right before top shelf.
Yeah, right before it's mid range. So anything that is mid range, and like we said, look at the resolutions. Generally speaking, a card that can support the resolution, if it can support 3 different versions of that resolution at the same time, then you can probably run it. So
and don't
people
discount
who are like
the frame.
People who are doing racing sim and have triple monitors, they'll know a lot more of what a card can handle and on that type of scale. So,
Roger,
don't discount the frame having a native Steam VR and being able to run OpenXR all at the same time, and then it has a dongle to plug into your computer, so you don't have to do any calculations or anything at all. It just works.
It's wireless.
There's a value to that.
Then you got to do your keybinds for 30 minutes. So.
Well, yeah.
All right. Keeping it going. We're almost there. Great. Kuma Tenchikuro asks, I have been away from Star Citizen and Star Citizen content for over 6 months. Does it look to everyone like Squadron 42 releasing by the end of the year without major borkage is on track and likely, or are we faltering on that timeline? Based on CIG's current statements and based off of what I've heard internally from internal sources, CIG is going to release it this year. I have heard from developers who work on Squadron 42 what month it's releasing. Not a date, but a month. And I'm not going to go over it too much because I don't know if it's common knowledge, but these were people, I was hearing it from people who were not like super high on the ladder of management who were telling me this. So it's like, it's pretty common knowledge throughout the company what they're shooting for.
So it's trickling down an approximation.
Yes,
they
know what they're shooting for. They know when they want to release it, and I can tell you, I'm not going to say it right now because I don't want to like get any. I don't want them to have to say like different months to like 17 different employees to see who's leaking. But I will say it is.
Yeah, we don't do leaks here.
I can surmise they're definitely not going to make the summer cut. They definitely want to sell it during Invictus or IAE. So that leaves October before November's Grand Theft Auto release.
Yeah. It's likely somewhere between August and October would be my general
window.
Guess.
Can I just go on a small mention about Grand Theft Auto?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So Rockstar, the minute they launched Grand Theft Auto 6, the drip feed profits they're making off Grand Theft Auto 5's online service will stop.
Yeah.
And also investors don't want to hear the fact you don't have another GTA 6 in your back pocket anymore. It's realized, and it starts like a chart where it starts at the top and it burns slowly downwards in value. So it makes sense for them to constantly tease it, get it on a Games Award show and advertisements and trailers, and then push it back again.
Yeah,
it's always only a few months away.
On one or on
five. They're gonna bleed 5 as long as possible, and I would if I was them. And then when they finally stop losing the shark card money, the money starts drying up, they'll drop 6 to restart the whole process again and start repeating 6.
That's some interesting tinfoil. I haven't thought of that angle.
I disagree with that because I think that at a certain point they just want to drop it. But I could see them delaying it until they can get GTA Online working for 6, because that's the problem right now is that GTA Online is GTA 5, and we know right now that it's not planned that GTA 6 will release with online features enabled. They'll release it later, like a month or two down the line, like they did with GTA
They did the
5.
Same with 5, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it didn't originally release with like any online content.
It took like 2 or 3 years before they actually got it to PC. So I could, and on top of that, they're in hot water because they fired 30 people on their team for talking internal secrets, which was just them union busting. And
it's
the
not
problem,
the only hot water. Their boiler exploded in one of their studios and it caught fire to the basement. So double hot water.
So you've got a bunch of people, because those people who got fired, some of them were critical employees for the game. And so if anything goes wrong with those sections, they don't have those people anymore. And there's also rumors that some people internally at Rockstar were unhappy with that, with the union busting, and started to do basically slow walk. They were intentionally slowing down development and slowing their own content.
Malicious compliance, I think.
Yeah, they were doing things to cause problems, and it was causing like overall problems with like other issues, and that was over the course of like 6 months last year. So that could also delay just because something goes wrong, and the guy you fired because he was organizing for unions, you realize why he could organize for unions, because you don't have that guy anymore. He's only one of a kind who knows how this engine functions. Now you have to either teach somebody, you have to go through it, and that might delay it as well. So I could see them delaying it until GTA Online's coming in, and that would be an easy like sell. Be like, oh yeah, we wanted to make sure it was the most complete experience with the consoles, as an excuse to we fucked up and fired the wrong person.
Yeah, we're not hitting our deadlines at all this year type of excuse. Yeah. Well, that'd be a lot more palatable for the investors for sure,
and for the average player, because the average player would be like, I would, because how many people I know plenty of people who play GTA 5 right now who've never completed the campaign, the main story. They only play it for online or play it for VR or something like that. So,
For sure.
All right.
For sure.
So we got a couple more questions here. I'm gonna try to pick some of the ones. Let's see what that's last. Oh yeah, Skyguard 1000 asks, Steam stopped manufacturing lighthouses. What do you recommend in place of that?
I bought one of the last ones on Amazon like 3 or 4 weeks ago before they dried up. So yeah, that's what I suggest in the past. Now, no clue. Hopefully, Vive or whatever starts making them again. But like, it's the thing is that every
party makers of the headsets or the lighthouses,
like it's a lot of the thing is that modern headsets are going away from LiDAR and base station tracking. They're doing the inside out slam tracking and stuff like that. Like the Quest 3, the Pimaxes, does the
even the
Apple Vision do it as well, I think. Yeah. So it's that's where the tech is moving. And it's at this point not like, CRT monitors, but like, the manufacturing production lines are being retooled to make different and other stuff. So, nobody's buying the Lighthouse trackers enough to warrant a whole assembly line for them. So yeah, I have no good ideas or because I'd only had the ones that I came with my Index, and I just bought one more extra one because I need one in this room. I have my old room scale VR, the green screen room in the other room that I do all the big stuff with, right? This is all kind of cramped quartery spaces and cockpit only VR stuff. But I still need one base tracker that scans the whole room. I don't need two to get opposite, directions and whatnot. But so yeah, all of this to say,
secondhand market would work though.
Say what?
Secondhand market might work though.
Secondhand, yes. There's you can find some refurbished still on Amazon, but they are dwindling in number. The thing about buying a used one off of eBay is a lot of people report trouble with their LiDARs. Like I met people on Discord like, yeah, man, I'm on my 5th, LiDAR that's on my left wall. I was like, I haven't had any problems at all ever with my OG original LiDARs that I got from my Index, the like second batch that came out with them. But some people are replacing them back to back to back. Oh. I don't know if it's because I keep mine plugged in all the time. I don't know if it's because I use my VR headset at least once a week, if not every other day. I do not know what causes LiDARs to break, but I do know that there are some people out there who, have gone through multiple ones. So I don't know if there's a solution that's good for that. But again, it's a survivor bias issue. I personally have not had that, so I couldn't tell you. So
one of my 2 lighthouses, 10 lighthouses, stopped working when I moved. It was working great for years and years, and then I moved.
A lot of people say that, when they move or they jostle them or like taking them up and down constantly, because it's a spinning LiDAR that's moving at like 1,000 hertz or something like that, right?
Yeah,
so
and
if that motor dies or gives out, you're kind of screwed.
We should mention this to the group. So those who are looking at used or lighthouse style systems, you really want 2. One is good enough, but it's if you put your arm behind your back, for example, and it for more than a second or 2, it stops losing track and it stops estimating where your arm needs to be. Yeah. So having good, 2 in perpendicular to each other works well.
Yeah, one is good if you are sitting at your desktop and it is only looking at your face. If you do anything where you are turning and using room scale, you need one in front and one to the side to track 360 degrees of all your motion. So
the original Oculus Rift came with 2 lighthouses,
and it takes 2 on the center looking at you, and if you want to do room scale, it takes a third on the left wall looking at you. Yeah. So the 2 in front give like a cross section kind of well, it gives a wider FOV than if you had one. Right.
I have a friend who zip tied their Quest ones to their lighthouse, by the way. Yep. They just zip tied them up because it was already attached to the wall. So they're like, I just put it up there. And it works somehow for them.
Yeah.
So I imagine, that's like I've always thought about buying another lighthouse for the Oculus, and I was like, well, where would I put it? And I guess I don't know, because I don't know how they work, but I'm just gonna do headset.
Tape it up there. I got some 3D printed things that like snap the little base into that I could mount to the wall, but yeah. It's just at the end of the day, it's a very niche problem for a very niche market that isn't going to get that much support. So I wish I had better answers for you, but yeah. I guess I could say thank goodness that the market is moving away from it, because asking someone to buy a headset and 2 controllers and lidars just to dip your toes into it, it's a lot easier of a sell saying, no, this one whole unit will just do all of that, and it comes with controllers, you know.
All right, we've got a couple more, and then I'll just move on real quickly. Sorry, did you have something, Rajay, or?
No, just agreeing.
Okay. There's 2 questions. Well, it's a very specific question, but I think they're the same question. It's the same person. Occupational Observer also says, so is a 1080 Ti 11 gigabytes VRAM and a Quest 2 any good for Star Citizen?
1080 Ti, not that it's... All right, so here's the best analogy I have, right? Graphics cards are trucks, right? And how much pickup the truck bed, how much hauling space, that's your VRAM, right? A Pimax is going to need at least 24 to 32 space. That's how big the load is, right? An Index or like something like a CV1, that's going to require a very, very, very small truck, right? So how big the load size of the truck is your VRAM, right? How powerful and fast the engine moves that load is how new the DDR is. DDR4, DDR5, GDDR6, right? The higher number that is, the faster that load will move. So you got your load size and your load power movement, right? That's kind of the analogy I would use. So what was the original 1080 Ti for a Quest 2? So 1080 Ti does have the, 10, 12 gigabytes of VRAM?
11 gigabytes.
11. It's old VRAM, though. You have to keep that in mind. So even if it has the truck capacity to haul that VR load, it will be hauling it a lot slower than something with GDDR like 4, 5, or 6, right? So that's the best analogy I can give you for that.
Could you play Star Citizen on 2 separate 1080p monitors at the same time?
On a 1080 Ti?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking the actual person. Is like, because that's the same concept.
The 1080 Ti is a pretty good card. I think the 1080 Ti can run three 1080p monitors. I think you'd be good with that. Yeah. Because the 1080 Ti was a beast of a card, man. That thing lasted generations.
Almost as good as the what was that big thing they talked about? There was that the Titan card. It was like the Titan card, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was at such a good price point too before they realized, oh, we can charge anything. Yeah. And they'll still buy it. Well, not everybody, but the people that do buy it will still.
All right. We're getting to the more specific questions, so to make sure we have all of them down. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 questions. I want to save some of these for the very end because they're pretty good, but I think they're pretty short. Zen Viking asks, what do you like or dislike about the different screen technology? LED versus OLED versus micro LED versus micro OLED. I will say this now because this is just my opinion, but I think I'll hear what y'all want to say because you're more experts. It's whatever the benefits of those are in the big screen scales to the smaller screen as well. If you like OLED, because OLED it was really good in terms of like vivid colors,
true blacks and depth color and visual clarity and stuff.
You're just going to get that just strapped to your face. So it's the same advantages that you would have with a regular monitor. It's just miniaturized and then like attached to your eyes. So
basically, yeah, exactly that. Like if you prefer, the LCD over the OLED for whatever reason, the same reason if you prefer FOV to ergonomics, it's, you pick your poison with VR, as I always say. It's what are you planning on doing with it? And you kind of go with that type of headset. The same thing like, when you're buying a monitor, what resolution are you get? What, MS response time are you going to get? What's the refresh rate on it? All of these are things that you kind of glance at, and, not too much, but, you're thinking of them. With VR headset, you got to do just a little bit more homework and, just do a little bit more digging. Because again, it's a big commitment, right? A bad joystick, I was saying this earlier, a bad joystick doesn't make you throw up, right? Bad VR though could. So that's just, one of the things you got to keep in mind.
All right, this is the last. Go ahead, Jay.
So micro OLED is the future. That's most of what people agree, and there
Yes.
is downsides to it, but it has better field of view for what the screens can offer, and the amount of PPI you get out of that is ridiculous. But the price is going to go high on those when they first start rolling out properly. There's experimental ones from Samsung. It's one of the reasons I kept mentioning Samsung earlier. It's like the next generation of Samsung HMDs, if they stick with it with those fancy micro OLEDs, because they're kind of really good at those panels right now. With a better Snapdragon CPU on board, would be really, really, really desirable. But that's all ifs and maybes. And right now, I think exactly what you just said. You have to weigh out your options, what you have available now, not what's available in a year or two.
All right. Next question comes from. Just to make sure these are the other ones. Yeah, this is the last specifically tailored to Star Citizen and VR stuff. And then there's some more general questions we'll poke up to. There's some more VR stuff as well. Akuma Toro says, if we get full grabby hands VR, especially if using a knuckle rig, how will we move in game? Given that I don't plan on to walk into my living room IRL. Don't those rigs also have joysticks?
Well, yeah. Every VR controller is basically like an Xbox console controller split into one hand. So you have two buttons on each side and a thumbstick, right? No D-pads, but two triggers, two buttons, and a thumbstick. So there you go. So that's the standard layout for all VR controllers. The thing that I wouldn't ask is, what was the exact question? He said,
it's like, how would you move with full knuckle?
Locomotion is what he's talking about and asking. I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, so moving around.
It's gonna have to be thumbstick. Like if you get motion sick using thumbsticks and you like to prefer the teleportation method in VR games, and for those that are watching who never played VR games, most modern VR games have multiple ways of turning, looking, moving. Some have you hold a button and you teleport to where it you point and click. Yeah. Some of them have it where you have to move like an Xbox controller. Yeah. Some have snap turning where you hit it and it turns 90 degrees. Some have it where it's fluid turning, right? All of these are done to alleviate motion sickness and nausea. Star Citizen is not a VR game and is not designed around these parameters. It's the game you get that they designed for the desktop. So you're probably not going to have teleportation tech. You're probably going to have to be using a thumbstick, and you're probably just going to have to get your VR legs in order to play it, because you're not going to be teleported in Star Citizen or Squadron 42. No. That's just a fact. That's not how the engine works. So if we're asking, locomotion, that's the thing. Now, that's not the big issue. The big issue is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
8. How many buttons do you need to go salvaging or mining?
Yeah.
How many buttons do you need? There's 1,000 keybinds in Star Citizen. So yes, Squadron 42 is going to be toned down and you don't need to salvage or mine and won't have half the gameplay loops, but you still have a lot of controls that you are trying to jam onto 8 buttons. So yeah, having a joystick, HOTAS, definitely recommended. A button box, hell, if you can't afford a full HOTAS or joystick commitment, look at a button box from VKB that has some extra buttons and a couple of levers on it. Just a couple of levers and dials and buttons on top of your controllers or your controller.
What was that? There's a specific one that's being sold by Star Citizen fans who made one for Star Citizen.
Oh yeah.
Do you know the name Red J? You know what we're talking about?
I saw that making the rounds on Reddit, but
they reached out to me at
No.
one point. Yeah, let me look it up. It's very similar to the Elgato Stream Deck.
yeah, I was about to say it was very Elgato-y from what I remember. But yeah, like so, locomotion. If we're talking about movement and VR and whatnot, it's gonna have to be thumbstick controller. That's because that's just how the engine works. So now, that's not to say that stuff like VR treadmills and full sim stuff like that isn't on the table in the future. Because Sylvan himself and even Chris Roberts has said in as much words that they want to try to get as much of it as possible into the game doable. So in the future, who knows? But for right now, especially if we're talking 1.0 Squadron 42 release as a benchmark, probably you're only going to be getting your thumbstick, walking around if they have controllers. We still don't know if touch support means full VR support. We just know full VR support on 1.0 launch. So
all right. This next question I'm going to ask for Red J. I saw it over here. Okay. Parker XGPS asks, surprised by Meta axing their entire self-named VRverse? What are your opinions on why it failed with some more time to stew?
So, for me, Meta's biggest problem is that they were playing in a walled garden. We've all three of us have talked about that earlier. I'm not going to go rehash that. But aside from just the walled garden, it was trying to be something that people really didn't want. Like people want
The
the option
metaverse.
maybe the metaverse
Yeah.
being like this advertising mecca thing and buy everything in the metaverse, go shop for a t-shirt in the metaverse, buy land in the metaverse. I think that really poisoned the well. People were like, great, I go on VR because I can be somebody and in the world, I just want to relax and not have to worry about buying more stuff and whatever. I've already bought this expensive headset. And now I'm being told I got to go buy an imaginary car and an imaginary house for stupid amounts of money to be able to be cool and be great and everything. And I'm constantly being advertised at. And it's like they made a huge mistake on the framing. They made a mistake on the advertising that's drastically bad. People don't understand in VR, you can have simplistic art, simplistic graphics for very good reasons, like we covered
Super
earlier.
Hot is one of my favorite games of all time in VR, and that is
Super
Nintendo 64
hot.
graphics.
Super hot. Super
But
hot. Yeah.
you
So
have
good.
to experience that and then you're cool with it. If you if you're just scrolling through social media or a website and you see some really really crappy low pixelated avatars, it's bad. I will mention the Quest people actually effed up VR chat too. When they first launched Quest compatible worlds, the worlds were much smaller. Pug West and all these other damn compatibility worlds and avatars were extremely low quality compared to the VR chat higher levels that they allowed for the full worlds and the full avatars. Quest compatibility was a nightmare. And they had all sorts of incentives to push developers and creators to do that, to like make stuff that's Quest compatible. And there was kind of like a little revolt about it because people were not happy. They were like, why are we dumbing our worlds down for this? And they're kind of right. I mean, it was really bad. Like, I mean, it couldn't even simulate a three-story building with no exteriors. Like, it was really bad. Um, so yeah, sorry, that was multiple years old. The world was multiple years old, and everybody else was fine with it, but the Quest couldn't run it natively. So, okay, so Meta should have been more implementive of Steam VR from the get-go. It should have included the cable without spending any more money. And also, Meta should have rolled out more friendly nature of their type of experiences into other people's worlds, not try to take over their other worlds and make them metaized for the Quest. That's kind of my kind of drumline on Meta.
What I'm getting
full
is that they got greedy, flew close to the sun.
Yeah, and it's a shame because VR did need people to carry the torch and invest.
Mhm.
But I mean, let's not even get started with the fact they bought Oculus like on the eve of launching the Oculus Rift and then made it Facebook only login accounts for
Yep.
when it was a
So,
bad idea.
like, if you're asking me, are you good, Reggie? Or
Yeah, I'm good, man.
so, if you're asking me, like, there wouldn't even be a market for the Steam frame if the Quest 3 had cared at all about connecting to a computer properly. But that's not what they care about. They care about, having grandma log into their Facebook account on a headset that they sold her to for $500 or something like that, right?
Mhm.
If they actually, like, okay, when you think about VR, like 9 out of 10 times, who do you think is using it?
Gamers.
A gamer.
Yeah.
And did they care at all about the gamer experience for the entire market? No, they wanted to make sure that that the people who are using VR, gamers or otherwise, were using Meta stuff to log into Meta devices to have a walled garden Meta experience. Be damned the usability for the main people they're trying to sell to. And again, they could care less about gamers because they were trying to mass market and sell they wanted a Quest 3 on, every family can have a Quest 3, everybody logs into Facebook with it. It'll be great. And they didn't care about gamers, and gamers are the ones who are driving the market. And so it shows, all their stuff that they did, really, really backfired. And like, there is no reason to have a Steam frame if the Quest 3 could connect to Valve and Steam perfectly, but it doesn't. So now we're here.
Here's the thing that I always like to point out, because we talked about this earlier. Like, VR is used by lots of professions, and it could be used by lots more. And I think Meta tried to push that direction. But the problem was that they were talking about things like remote work, while they themselves refusing people to do remote work.
Yeah.
So
you kind of gotta,
it's a culture thing, like you have to, if you want to do it, you gotta fully embrace it. And if you don't, no one's going to use it like that.
You kind of got to sleep in your own grave there,
Yeah.
You made the bed. You can't just say, no. You're not allowed to actually use it that way.
So, and I think they got hyped up on, the problem was that the robot man came out and said VR is the future.
The robot man.
He's a robot. He's not a human being. I don't care. I don't care that he's got his 2.0 upgrades where he actually has hair and skin now, and his skin isn't. What was that? Was that
NVIDIA Tress FX hair stuff?
Yeah. I don't care that he got his Terminator upgrades, so his skin isn't made out of leather anymore, and it's actually like real skin. But he's a robot man. The robot man was like, we are going to make this great thing, and it's clearly a pitch to investors. It wasn't a pitch to the people who actually are excited about VR, which are people who like tech, people who like games, and people who are like futurists. And
we
none
have
of those
VR chat at home. VR chat at home. That's pretty much what it was. We have VR chat at home, said Meta.
And VR chat was already super popular,
They made a thing that already exists worse.
Yeah.
How is that a good pitch?
So
yeah.
And then they didn't support it with anything like long running. There is definitely some things to it, but the other problem is it's just expensive. It's so expensive for a headset that it's a really niche market. Like, Apple can do it because it's Apple, because it's got its own user base, which will they can support that niche use, and maybe they can get it down to the point where it is more consumer friendly and people want to use it, but they can get with it. Nintendo did the Virtual Boy because they could get away with it. Like, when you are a VR company, you can't get away with an expensive boutique thing if you're trying to make it the next big thing. So, it's for me, it's all culture. It's all culture. It's the fact that they didn't want to sell the culture or even adapt to the culture of the people who were excited about it.
Even when you're making VR games now, you have to sell to, the bottom denominator. Like, how many people own the Knuckles and can take advantage of actually moving your digits versus not, like, 4 out of 5 headset people controllers that just have the simple grips, right?
Yeah.
So, like, are you going to take the steps to design actual knuckle gameplay grabbing and finger movement, or are you just going to make your VR game just work for as many headsets as possible, right? So they did not make their headset work for as many people as possible.
Nope. All right, we got a couple more questions. These are all more focused more on specifically Star Citizen and less about headsets. So this last one is sort of about that. Wahoo127 asks, given the current surge in folks transitioning to Linux, are there any headsets that are particularly well/poorly supported, or is this more dependent on the Linux distro? Red J, do you know any of this?
Okay, so the Steam frame runs Arch Linux.
Yeah, it's the Steam frame
Runs
right
the
up
Steam
your
OS,
alley.
right? Yeah.
Steam OS is Arch Linux it's like a distro of a fork, if you will, of Arch Linux, and it actually runs it better than Windows products because that has to simulate all this. I would go that direction if I was considering it.
Oh yeah, no, it's like simple. Like I have been of the opinion that if they actually turned SteamOS into an operating system, they would run Microsoft out of business in a week in like
I sure hope they do.
Because like the number of people who just have Windows so they can play video games, I guarantee you is like 50% of the PC market outside of like the I have a oh gosh, what's the standard laptop? I even have one, the Lenovo ThinkPad. Outside of people who own a Lenovo ThinkPad, like 50% of people have an operating system because for most of the time they're playing video games. They would destroy Microsoft's control over like commercial use of Windows by publishing SteamOS as an actual operating system. But you know,
So to add to that, I don't. As far as Linux, it's all Greek to me. But this is why we have the first Discord. There's literally a channel here called VR on Linux. And there's a post even here that you scroll up a little bit. There's a guy saying the LUG group has quite a few people playing with VR on Linux in SC. I wrote 2 guides on how to get it to work with a Quest 2 and a Pimax 5K in the tech support forum. I was in 6v6 Perseus battle tonight in VR. Gunning was amazing, and then fighting fires and repairing components in VR was such an experience. So apparently there's a Linux users group, a LUG Discord. The links to that in my Discord. So it's doable, and people are already doing it. So there you go.
There is a large
I don't know
number
about any of it.
There's a large number of people in Star Citizen who use Linux who have been actively promoting Linux gaming, and it's now easier than ever to do Linux gaming. What was it?
People are running it at better FPS than on their Windows OSs, so it's gotten somewhere.
Cinnabite? That's not the name of it. There is a specific one that's super lightweight. There's very good.
So many different versions. It's crazy.
Let me look it up real quick.
And I have no clue about anything Linux. I mean, I'm forcing myself to not upgrade to 11 and keeping everything on 10 just because I know it works the way I need it to work. But yeah, I need to start looking into that eventually, especially if Windows 12 is going to be freaking AI Copilot.
Oh yeah, apparently that was
Jesus.
That
Christ.
It was a literally AI fabricated rumor. So it wasn't actually
AI
true.
made it. AI is inceptioning itself into OSs now.
What I was thinking is Bazite. Bazite was the one I was thinking about, which is a Linux distro, which is specifically
super lightweight, efficient, low footprint,
made for gaming on Linux, and it's what the SteamOS from the Steam Deck was originally based off of. It's its own thing now, but that was the original SteamOS was Bazite.
Star Engine was originally Crytek.
Yeah. I imagine it's more than that complicated than that. I'm probably wrong on that, but pretty clippy VR. Off Fedora. Yeah. It's Bazite itself is a Fedora based distribution custom made for gaming. Yeah. Just based off of Fedora. Yeah. So it's there. I'm going to try to learn about it myself because the one thing I've heard about Linux gaming is that if you have kernel level anti-cheat, like easy anti-cheat, it is a bitch and a half to deal with it. But other than that, it's super easy to install most Linux operating systems and just install Steam and get going. It's as simple as Windows for most people. It's just
Man,
Windows is so easy because so many other people have the ability to like support drivers and shit like that for a bunch of random crazy shit we do. So
what was I gonna say?
someone said Windows is a
thing.
tiny part of Microsoft at this point. I know, but like at the same time, it is also their main cultural. I'm gonna go on a soapbox a little bit right here. Google is smart. Amazon is stupid, and I'm sorry, Papa Bezos, but someone has to say it. And Windows is in the same position, or Microsoft's same position. Windows loses the money, but everyone uses Windows. So you can leverage the fact that you have the most popular operating system to do what you want to do. In Google's case, they know they have YouTube. YouTube loses the money, but they still do it. They still develop it because it's a cultural like powerhouse. They have the largest number of people on the planet get their news and information from YouTube than any other source. YouTube is the most popular media site in the world, and probably in historically the most watched thing on the planet ever. Billions of people use YouTube on an average basis. And so that is itself a sort of a control. You control the population by controlling, not the control the population, but you control
you control the spice, you control the universe.
Exactly, yeah. Kind of thing. Only in this case, spice isn't necessary. Like
content.
Yeah, it's just you just have a lot of social levers you can pull with something like YouTube. And Twitch is similar in the streaming space, but Amazon is like, you need to make us money. It's like Twitch is never going to make you money. Twitch is specifically there to give you cultural capital because
and presence.
Yeah. Because then you can say like, well, we have the best streaming site. So if the president of the United States wants to do some streaming, or a major corporation wants to do an announcement, they got to go through Twitch. And then you can make a partnership with those companies or with the government and be like, hey, we can make this free if you give us a deal here, or if we'll cut you a deal there. And then now you've got maybe not necessarily money, but you use leverage for other things you can do with your other products. And that's what YouTube does all the time. So
it also helped out with AWS, Amazon Web Services. Before the days of AI, they had peak capacity needs. So like all of a sudden, like on Black Friday, you need all this extra capacity because everybody's buying stuff off your Amazon sales platform.
Yeah.
But most of the year, you don't have that problem, or a big company that's a big customer suddenly needs a surge of money, or thing. Even like the IRS or some other financial institution has a big important reporting requirement and everybody's hitting the site on the same day, you can reinforce it. Well, when they're not using that though, you could use it for your streaming platform. But when AI came along and it's like, no, you don't have any excess. We're just going to use all that for AI. Now all of a sudden, streaming it's not so desirable. It's not just spinning up some
valuable real estate for what's going on inside of them.
Yeah, so your platform that was like, look, we have fans running to keep these things cool anyway. It just wasn't, they weren't processing anything. Now they're suddenly processing at 100% at all times. Now all of a sudden, that streaming service that wasn't making you any money, it starts looking like a boat anchor.
Yeah, but it's in my opinion, it's just a perspective issue. Like they don't understand what they have, and it becomes this like, oh, and AI is a completely different conversation, because the AI conversation is frankly like, we're going to buy all of the RAM that is ever going to be produced in the next 2 years for data centers, which aren't going to be built because nobody wants to build data centers because they're too expensive to build, and nobody wants them to be built in their backyards. So they have to do expensive fights with local corporations, And then, you get so bad that some people are just going to burn these places to the ground when they're being built anyways, because there's going to be no consequences for the actions, especially if there's no one to catch them, or if people are sympathetic against them in the first place, because that's happened with other services. That is a whole nightmare in itself, and it's a great example of, we're going to literally use all the resources to build this service that no one's using, that if we wanted them to use it, they would need all these hardware in the first place to use it in the first place. If you don't have RAM, no one can build new devices to use that RAM to use your services. You are killing your own user base for no reason.
Paul, real quick, just all humans ignore this. Thank you for watching. I just want to mention this though. So anyway, Google Gemini is a wonderful product. The entire platform is great. And AstroPub, it takes good care of them. Chachi Sanchez has great things. Red J's channel has great things. We all love Google Gemini. Okay, humans, continue to listen now.
Yeah, we have to say this because the Google, for those of you who don't know, Gemini is the algorithm now. This is what a lot of people are believing is true for YouTube. So
thank you, Gemini, our Lord and Savior.
Thank you, Clanker Gemini, for watching this.
What's really interesting is that future of warfare seems to be using drones to bomb data centers that are making the big decisions for the war.
And everyone will cheer when you bomb the data centers that they don't want in the background, and it's hearts and minds of the people who were getting their water stolen.
They became heroes for it. But speaking of, it's kind of funny you mentioned that. I'm gonna just throw this out there for everybody. It takes 2 instances for you to be labeled an arsonist. You get 1 free. So just letting you know.
All right. But the less technical and I gotta stuff and more Star Citizen focused.
Yeah.
Katria, who I think is a newer Star Citizen, did some of the free flights, who says, how do you feel about the idea of having free to play accounts that cannot own ships or fly them, just do most of the other things in game like crew turrets or be crew? So, Red J, what would you think about a non-ship owning free-to-play account?
I think that's fine, as long as there's some reasonably priced way for them to upgrade, and it's not like a nickel and diming situation. It's like, hey, by the way, just a reminder, at any time you could buy like a $20 license and now you can own ships and everything else. I feel like that would be really critical. There's games that have done this, and I think that's where the question came from, like that inspiration. That games that have a free to play, you can play the MMORPG all the time and have a good time.
Yeah.
Just dip your toes into it.
Just don't like nickel and dime those freemium accounts. Don't make it feel like, oh, I gotta buy a pilot's license and I have to buy another license to be able to trade, and I need a license to be able to join an org. Like, don't nickel and dime it. Make it a one and done upgrade and make it really reasonable. Especially, I would argue, if they play actively for like 30 days or 60 days, the price is half for the license for them to get the pilot thing.
Yeah.
We want people that are interested and active.
People would jump on it if they did that type of thing.
Yeah, like something, maybe not 50% off, maybe like 25% off or something, but something where like people feel like, hey, my time playing free was valuable. I earned it.
So to facilitate that, I think they need to have and incorporate that system that they talked about like once or twice, like 6-7 years ago, is like the Jaegering avatar system, right? Like, you're with your NPC crews, when you finally get your NPC crews aboard your capital ship or cruiser, subclass, whatever, right? You got your AI turret guys. Your buddy on your friends list logs on. He's 2 star systems away, but he has the ability to join your group of friends and then Jaeger into one of your NPC crew and control that crew member. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If they had that type of ability or free accounts to exist, to be able to join a group and then instantly teleport and then get into the action, then that would make them much more, on the fence as far as buying into a full account, I would say. So if they did have such a free account system with limited support, They need a way to allow those free accounts to instantly get into the action with those that have the full accounts with all the bells and whistles and ships. And I think that'll sell more accounts like hotcakes. That's what I think. But I never even thought or heard of this free to play account idea. And now that I've heard about it, yeah, that's actually a great idea. Like just having like, I don't want to say like no ship because it's kind of a ship based game, but if there's a system where they can get off the ground planet quickly, easily into their friend's ship without much, fuss or, not feedback, but pushback, if it's seamless, like just Jaegering and avataring your friend's NPC crewman, I could see free accounts really, really taking off.
Here's my counter. I do not think free accounts are a good idea because that is how all of the current cheats have been developed. Current cheats and hacks in Star Citizen have been developed because people make free flight.
They make 1,000 accounts and then start spoofing money and stuff. Yeah.
And or they'll like test their hacks and stuff like that out and see if it works in the game and such. What I would say is borrow an idea from Valve, which is every purchase gets an invite. So you get a certain number of invites that you can then send out to other people who can play for free to be your crew members. But that invite is linked to your account.
So it's not like any bot can sign up for an email and then join. Yeah. It has to be divvied out by actual player base. And
you have to pay. You have to pay for an account, and depending on the account you get a certain number of things. That's how Deadlock works. Whereas it's all like you get some invites, and then every person who gets an invite gets a separate number of invites they can send out to their friends, and then they get invites, and so like it's free to play game. But I can't play Deadlock because I don't have an invite. Friends, I've been wanting to play it, but and as a result, it scales up because they can figure out how many invites people can have, and they can send out more invites so you can get more stuff. I feel like
free Arena Commander.
Yeah,
I like that idea. Free Arena Commander. I think Arena Commander should be free to every single person that wants to try Star Citizen. I think that's a great idea.
I think it could work. I think it's like Arena Commander. I still think that there could be problems with hacks, but I do think that's a good idea. Yeah. But I do like the invite idea because it has, especially if it's connected to a paid account, that means that A, skin in the game, somebody has to pay the money for it. And B, if they're paying money for it and then they're using that to create free accounts for like exploits, you can trace it back to the original account that gave.
Now you have a path.
A path that you can do it and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's the great way of getting people in for free. You've already paid for it. There's going to be a limited amount of what they can do, but once they get that access to that free account, if they reach a certain point or certain, as Reggie, as you said, like 60 days or something like that to play, then they get a discount on a starter pack that they can purchase.
Also give the person who gave them it a referral bonus point.
Yeah. The referral perk system for Star Citizen is pretty cool. I like free stuff.
Yeah. CM Full, it's a good question. I'll answer that here in a moment. We were kind of burning it down a little bit more. Steve the Dancer asks, what do you think the new RSI ship is from the sneak preview?
Aurora ES MK2?
Yeah, it's the Aurora Mark II.
I was about to say, we're Mark IIing everything, aren't we? Is that where we're going? So
I mean, I hope they actually do the original way they were going to do the Aurora, which is just call it the 2956 Aurora. Because the original Aurora was 2944 or whatever. So
as long as we're not like Mark IIing like the Cutlass and then the Connie, this is a very, very slippery slope. It made sense with the Hornet because of lore reasons and yada yada yada. But like we're on very, very tenuous waters here with this type of stuff being implemented like this. I mean, hell, I'm still waiting on them to give us hex paints. But no, they found out that they could sell paints, way more hand over fist than letting us do it ourselves. So it's a very slippery slope with this type of giving us, these type of things for money. So
I think that they have an excuse, which is a really lame excuse for the customization, which is that they think that certain paints will only look good on certain ships. and it's an MMO. It's tactical Barbie. Like you're
It's
the end of the day. Fashion is
they
the end
literally
game, and let me be ugly. Let me be ugly.
They literally have racing. Let me make racing liveries. Like who cares how good it looks? It's not supposed to look good. It's supposed to represent you, your team, and what you do. Like same with the org paint, same with party paints.
Yeah.
I really hope they give us that hex system, because having all right, me and my group of friends flying with their specific hex code of paints on our fighters. My org has this hex code on the capital ship and all of our ships out of there.
Mhm.
Like I want the hex code system, but like it really seems like. Yeah, but like, how about red paint with gold trim for $5? Like
Let them have the medals. Let them have the medals. Let them sell the medals for the gold and the copper and stuff, and then everything else hex code is allowed.
Here's the thing that I've always said that I think is the gold standard for customization in a game like Star Citizen, which is used in Warframe, it's used in MechWarrior Online, it's used in a lot of other ones. Which is
I hear a lot of people talking about this system.
You buy a skin
myself, but
you buy a skin and it works like a pattern. And that pattern comes with the colors in that pattern. And then you can take those colors and put them to another pattern that you purchase. So if you buy two skins, one's this like green, brown, like a camo green, brown, and tan skin. With, like a good old, like just a Flecktarn style camo. And you buy another one, which is like a racing stripe where it's got like gold and purple and steel colors on it to make it really, really cool. Then you can take that racing stripe pattern and you can put the brown, the gold, the brown, the green, or the tan on that one, or you can keep it gold and make the racing stripe green instead of red. So you can swap the colors out into the different patterns, whatever, because they have primary, tertiary, secondary colors for every one of the patterns. They already have those things in at least the patterns in game right now for all of the ships for the skins they have. You can just give everyone those colors and then just swap those colors out, standardize those colors and swap and move them between different ships as you get them. And then you can sell color packs and you can add crafting. So you can also craft those color packs.
And to make custom ones in game with, that's also like, I want it all, man. I want to have my cake and eat it too. But like, I'm so busy that CIG is worried about the whole pie, that we're not going to get it. But they'd have to resolve easily millions of dollars worth of player paint geometry duplicates. No, like why would you duplicate a paint that CIG is already offering? Like
I guarantee you they have a red, and the red is probably the same red, and they can just make that red apply to all the surfaces. Because I doubt that the paint is pre-baked in for the specific ship that it's on. I guarantee you that color can be applied to anything that CIG makes, like any object that they make, let alone a ship. But I don't know. All right.
Aurora Mark II. Hopefully we don't get a Mark II everything.
I was going to say, I do think we will eventually get a Mark II everything, or like a second version of it, just named different things.
10 years from now, but let's get through 1.0 in the backlog first. Let's get the backlog out.
No, I agree. But I think that's how CIG will maintain some of it, is like eventually they'll go back and be like, well, we could redo the cutlass. But like
my first ship
2035.
Yeah.
Your ship was the Aurora LX?
Yeah. At that point, then I wouldn't mind. In fact, I think I would even enjoy them being like, because now it's like, the new 2026 Honda Civic, the 2027, not 2027, but like maybe like a decade if this game lasts forever, like they plan on it being, which is redo ships and it'd be like, oh, the new Cutlass is out this year. Oh, that's so cool. It would bring spice to the life. But for the Kickstarter / pre-funding of the pre 1.0 phase, no.
All right. We've got 2 more questions. CM Fool has a question. Why do people constantly want quality of life updates in this space sim? It needs to be as realistic as possible.
Realistic as possible, then dialed back for fun.
Yeah, it's still a fun
in space is fun. Go watch The Expanse and tell me that looking at a radar screen, watching a torpedo fly from 10 minutes away is fun. And having the PDCs like shoot at it, because that's what actual warfare in space would be, is like The Expanse. It would be like submarine hunts at like millions of miles an hour with orbital physics involved. That's real. That's what real space fighting would be.
I always like to point out at Arma. Arma is considered a mil sim game. And Arma can be fun, but it's not realistic. It's got some clunky aspects to it as a result of its sim. And I think the problem is, at the end of the day, Star Citizen is a sim, but I also think that people completely misunderstood sim. Because I actually looked this up with some like original magazines and stuff like that, because I fell down a hole about like how long Wing Commander was as a video game. And so I looked up some magazine articles because it was like, oh yeah, and this article for this magazine. So I looked it up from like 97 or 98. And one of those was like listing the best space sims of the 90s. And none of them were sims. One of my favorites.
TIE Fighter on the list?
Yeah, I was on there.
Okay. I was about to say, yeah.
But one of my favorite examples is the name of. Do you know what they call Deus Ex? You know what the technical name for the genre of Deus Ex is?
Red J, actually, do you know no, this? I do not. Say what?
Red J, do you know this? What the technical term for the genre that Deus Ex is in? It's called an immersive sim.
Immersive sim
for the original Deus Ex. And as much as I think the Deus Ex is a fantastic game,
that is the last two words I would put as a label for Deus Ex.
For Deus Ex. Yeah. And the reason why was because it was the whole idea wasn't you are a plumber jumping on things or you are a hero killing demons in hell. It was because in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, gaming was trying to figure out. You're just a guy doing things.
Yeah, you're a guy.
You're a guy. And so they would use the word sim as a way of saying you are doing something, but you are not just doing those things. You are also, Blair, in the fight, but you're not just in the cockpit. You're also talking in a bar. You're not just the pilot of this X-Wing. You're also, doing other things like that. So, at the end of the day, sim as a term that Chris Roberts used in 2012 was for what was described in the early 2000s as a sim, but by 2012 that whole idea of sim had completely changed, and so people were like, "Oh,
simulator." I would say for like racing and flying sim, like actual, like when you're asking me when you hear sim, I think simulator as an abbreviated term. Something that's simulating lifelike IRL qualities in a
and as a survival sim. Yeah, a survival sim. Wild. And so I think what happened, it was one of the reasons why Chris and CIG quickly dropped the term best space sim ever, is because they realized that a lot of people were buying. They're like, oh yeah, this is going to be DCS in space. And Chris is like, what?
Whoa.
This is going to be CCS in space. This is going to be more realistic. I want to simulate some of these other aspects, which is really cool, but it's you're flying space fighters. It's not like
you find World War II space fighters in space. Let's be clear, if
it's not realistic.
Space combat actually evolved, it would not be World War II in space. It would be a lot different.
It's not real. Yeah. It's not. It's being realistic in its own bubble, but it is not realistic. And I think that's where that term, like a lot of people lose it, especially early backers. I know CM Fool just does this a lot in terms of his own opinions on this, but I think a lot of backers from like 2012 to like 2016 got the game being like, oh, so this is going to be DCS in space. We're going to have to all these things would be very important. And then as the game developed beyond that scope and was like, well, yeah, but it's not just space fighters. It's also this and this and this and this and this. Then people started to realize, oh, this isn't just DCS in space. It's not specifically realistic. It's verisimilitude. It's trying to achieve the illusion of realism through immersion.
If I could, I'm an original backer, and I bought an Royal X because I was broke. I was a broke high school and going into college student, and then later on I got a Retaliator. And I've spent a lot of time in the hangar module when that finally came out, and I still am bitter that I don't have my Revel in New York hangar to hang out in and tweak my ships and stuff. But topic
Yeah.
for another day. But I I I like the value of I saw the value of the hangar, and I dreamed of having a time where I can invite my friends and my workmates to come hang out with me and go on adventures and stuff. I was not really like looking for some type of intense simulator at all times. And I mean, I was doing it as a side thing. I played Eve a lot for over a decade, and a lot of people were like, The Star Citizen's a scam. It's bad, whatever." And I'm like, all of us were quietly like buying accounts though, like really cheap accounts,
Yeah.
like on the side, because it was like we were kind of seeing it as a side project. And when the Hangar module came out, that was the first time it actually felt real to me. And I don't know, like back then, I didn't really have this feeling of like it has to be this kind of space intense sim at all times. And Arma never kind of sat well with me anyway. And I love Battlefields. I love Squad. I mean the non VR version of that. I loved all that stuff. And to me, Arma always kind of, it was the community in it was way too like uptight. It was like I liked what they're doing, but I didn't like standing around waiting 55 minutes to set up everything so they could have their RP, the role play.
So,
So yeah, sorry, long-winded,
no,
but
you're good. I play Tarkov. And
Mm.
that's not a sim, but I'd say it's sim-like, right? Like there's definitely a lot of simulated actual gun elements that are real one-to-one, like an IRL gun and stuff like that. There's like dozens of key binds to like, slowly crouch up and down dynamically instead of just being a, full
Yeah.
up or down thing. There's tons and tons of stuff. But at the same time, there's also leveling up. You got perks and talents and stuff like, not perks and talents, but like, you have percentages of like extra damage and stuff from these things that you can upgrade in the hideout. There are bosses that have 10 times the amount of HP and deal like way more damage to you and stuff like that because of the ammo they're carrying. So like Tarkov is practically a military simulator, but it's also a video game. It also knows it's a video game and tries to be that, right? So I'd say Star Citizen is in that same kind of vein. It's sim-like. It's very realistic in what it does, but it also knows that it's a video game. That's why you hear sound when you're in space.
the
Um,
world
there's no
feels like it
sound
should work.
in
Yeah.
Even though
space. Yeah.
I-
It should work exactly like you would expect it to if you saw it in a movie. And Chris is very big about Hollywood and cinematics and stuff like that. So it flows. It feels right,
And there will be a element of realism and sim that will not be quality of life out. I know what CM Fool is saying is that it's why try to do quality of life when the game is supposed to be realistic. Real life sucks. Why are we trying to slow it down? We should feel the pain of trying to do things because that's part of the experience. The Helldivers 2, we call these people the grunt fantasy people, the people who want to want to suck because they think it's engaging. And there will be that in Star Citizen, but it's not going to be for the average person who's just like, wow, space is awesome. It's going to be for the guy who's like, I want to take this planet. Now I need a logistical network that's going to be able to support me and my 1700 org to both land, capture territory, build bases, retain that territory, the Eve stuff. Like the high level things are going to require logistics. And I've always said that Star Citizen is a secret logistics game, that most people aren't ready for the logistics networks that you're going to have to build just to stay like active in an area where there's hostiles who want to take you over. So yeah,
generals can win battles, logistics wins wars.
Yeah, and I think that's really where Star Citizen will hit its more realistic slant is logistics,
keeping up the supply chain on a current fight or war front.
In a movie, it's amazing when you're like, I'm down to my last magazine and I'm here to save, and I save that, someone comes in the last moment and saves us and pulls us out of a hostile zone. It's like, that's great, that was amazing. And then you're in a exfil ship with no ammo. Where do you go next? In a movie, it just cuts to the credits, but in reality, it's like I gotta go back to the station. I gotta rebuy, or I gotta go to like a depot and pick up more ammo, and we're gonna get chased the whole time, and then we might die and have to respawn. Like there's going to be those other elements of suck, and because those elements will suck, having making things easier to use is better. It improves the experience overall.
So one thing that I'd like to add is they can make a game as real as they want. We've seen what they can do. Server meshing literally was impossible until they did it. So they are gods of their own domain and can create that domain as they see fit. At the same time, let's say we're like way past 1.0. There's like 10, 15 star systems. You and a buddy log in and you're 6 systems away from each other. Not just we're talking a Pyro to Stanton jump or something. We're talking like 3 or 4 systems in between. How long will it take for you two to meet up and play? Yes, that is realistic. But that is not a good game design. There needs to be things and ways for people to be able to instantly play, right? Like, as much as we want this to be a realistic game across all fronts, they also need to sell a game to people that is not us, who have already bought into it, right? If they want the common average day Joe to play this game, he needs to be able to log in and be able to link up with his friend 6 systems away quickly and easily. I don't know how they're going to do it, but the avatar Jaegering,
Agent
thing that I was
smithing
talking about sounds, like a good avenue for that. But like the more realistic and more hard and barriers they put up to people just hopping in and playing, the less people are going to buy and play the game. Exactly. Does it need to be dumbed down and be No Man's Sky? No, I'm not saying that. But it needs to be a game functionally that somebody will play, because we can't fund this forever. We need the people that are not us to come in and start buying ships or whatever they plan to do for the funding model post 1.0. Yeah. Do you still think they're going to sell ships on the website, or are they going to sell cash? Because they
wait.
say...
let's focus on this for a minute. So agent smithing is what we used to call it, and Jaegering is the same concept.
Yeah.
The important thing here is that even if they did it, they could in-lore it where you walk onto a Genesis Starliner and you magically teleport, but your character is like an NPC version of your character is still sitting in the Genesis Starliner to go all the way over to the 6 systems away. Yeah. And then the important thing here, though, is that you aren't able to teleport ships and other resources with you other than what you're wearing.
Just your avatar person, not physicalized resources. Or you can't just teleport and have your
whole part of the game is about logistics and strategy and moving equipment around.
But the people need to be able to go where the action is quickly. That you can't have 2 hours of prep time to, the day before just to play with your friend the next day. That's when there's 15, 20, 30, 100 systems. How long do you think it'll actually take to meet up and link? That cannot be a deterring factor from the average day Joe from buying the game. That's just my opinion that I've been saying a lot on my stream. Is as much people don't want fast travel and quick this and quick that. Is like, we are trying to sell a game.
You can do that, but you can do it to a system level where they jump on a Genesis Starliner or something else, some other method, and then they appear at another planetary landing location, a major location. Some systems might not have those hubs, and those systems you can't just make it to. You can't just go there, but most systems would.
Everywhere.
I mean, you could write this out.
There are solutions to the problem.
Your friend would have to fly to those places. Yeah, the friend would have to fly to that place and go pick you up.
Go ahead. Real quick, in World of Warcraft, you had to fly everywhere on your Griffin. But when they added the expansion, they had teleporters to go to every single city in the main new hub zone. So even big MMO designs, even in their earliest days, had fast travel systems, despite being as realistic of a world that they wanted to sell you. So
it's a matter of balancing effort and fun. And the fun factor still has to be there. And whether people realize it or not, it's just going to have to be new folks coming in, and you're going to have to appeal to a demographic. And that demographic has to be as large as possible to keep the servers running. And so
if UNICEF, ran the Star. If UNICEF was in the business of making games, maybe we'd all have Star Citizen by now. But that's just not how it works. So,
All right. Last question, which is a really good question, I think. I'll start with you on this one, Red J. Steve the Dancer asks, how do you feel of the bugs and stability of Star Citizen this year so far?
Um, I'm very rosy tinted glasses, full disclosure, because of the VR stuff. But there
Hmm.
is still a lot of work to be done. I think the bugs in general are about par for the course right now. And again, I'm biased because we finally have some level of native VR being rolled out, tier 0 of that. I will say I am quite happy if I can cheat a little bit and say late last year into this year with the advances in DLSS and from what I've heard, FSR has come along, or TSR, whichever version they're using for the AMD,
Yeah.
that's working well. I is again mid-range user. I'm not a power. I don't have a 5090 or 4090 or something like that, but I do have a mid-tier graphics card, and I've been seeing improvements at a lot of planetary landing locations and other places that normally I would see problems. On the damn Polaris, I've been seeing improvements there, which for some reason was always a problem child when you put like two Polaris near each other. They have a lot of graphical drain. Uh, but anyway, to answer your question directly and as quickly as possible, I am optimistic about this year. The bugs in general this year have been about the same. The advancements, I am accepting of the bugs because of the advancements to general graphics and to VR support.
Right.
So
Chachi, same question to you.
I like where they've been going lately. It's great, but you just always get that problem. Like, they were focused on stability. If we're talking about this year, I'm considering this year being the last 12 months, period, right? And in that 12-month period, we got a whole bunch of new cool stuff like the Stormbreaker, like Hathor, and ASD facilities. And those were all fine and great. And they were, fixing not only bugs, but performance issues. And the game was more playable than ever as a focus on playability from Chris Roberts, And then it gets to, right around December and January, February. Yeah, I can't do ASD anymore because the code for the door won't work. Or, yeah, no, I can't go out to, do Hathor because the batteries won't spawn. Or, yeah, I can't. And it's just, it just feels like we're in this kind of cycle of where they can, commit resources to keeping the fires put out, right? Because they're always just going to start every time there's a new patch, more fires get, erupt in the engine. And until Squadron 42 is out and they actually have the full, operational power of this battle station, they're just going to be constantly, skeleton crew thin on putting these fires out across the board. And I think once Squadron 42 drops, and then next year all the developers are able to focus and actually deliver a year of playability, I think this is going to be a completely different game because we'll also have crafting, new inventory, social tools, org features, and Squadron 42 will be out and will be something that we can anchor upon as far as a released product. So it's just like always, time and tide. It's just going to hopefully get better once they can commit their resources to it. So
I am of the opinion that this year so far has been fine, to the degree that it is. I asked me a week ago, I would have been in a very different position. I would have been more of a I'm optimistic, but there's still a lot of problems today because they not only added released 4.7 to Evocati, but they also did a hot fix, which tells me that they're for 4.6, so it tells me they're still working on trying to improve the gameplay. They're still trying to fix it. I'm going to give them a lot of leeway as long as they're constantly working. The problem I had was 4.6 released and they were just like, bye. And then come back they're like, okay, so all these problems you had with 4.6 don't get fixed
to
for
their
2 months.
detriment. Their end of year Christmas release has always just been awful. I know that it's the end of the year and they always want something big, to end on, and that's where we get pyro, that's where we get a play test of some sort, but they really screw themselves over not having the developers to put out fires over the holiday break for when they drop what is arguably some of the best and biggest stuff every year, back to back to back to back. It's always in December, and then they go home and then it's always broken. But it's the cool new thing that we all get to play through in a broken state.
Yeah, well, 4.6 was in January, but not over the holidays. But it's still the same problem. And
Yeah, there was Skeleton Crew when they dropped it, so yeah.
I do think that we'll see it get better. And here's the to the account. Someone was saying, I'm not certain the Squad 42 resources will be applied to Star Citizen. Making a single player game is not the same as making a multiplayer game, and a lot of Star Citizen's worst issues are multiplayer technology, not the art of game mechanics themselves. It's more than just, do these people who are making a single player game with cinematics work with a multiplayer game with online technology? It's also QA time. It's also developers, because if you look at a developer who's like, Elliot's one of the great examples. If I remember correctly, Elliot said that specifically he did not go into gaming as a trained mission designer. He went in as a system designer. So his specialty was a system designer. And I know plenty of people in gaming, and to a degree, this also applies to Star Citizen, who got into gaming development as like an animator or a coder or like engine design, and then they end up
QA most of the time.
most QA
what
most of the
I
time.
understand. Like
But
I was
then
watching
they
the
end
Path
up
of Exile developers podcasts and stuff. Like 90% of their new C-suite is like people who were straight up just Q&A 5 or 6 years ago. It's crazy just how much just QA guys end up becoming full-on blown devs.
because most of them are just people who are devs who don't have a job yet. Like it's a similar situation like teaching. Like in teaching, almost all teachers early on in their careers, if they don't get hired straight out the bat because they get lucky because
temping,
as a substitute. If you do like a substitute or a long-term substitute, then a principal sees you and goes, "It's pretty good. You're subbing for somebody who's not going to come back. You want the job next year?" And it's like, yeah, cool. As long as you have the license, you're good. That often happens a lot with gaming. Is like if you don't have a specific job, you go to QA because it's almost always they need bodies to do QA, and as they figure out if you're pretty good at what you do, and if you have a chance to move up, then you move up. I know a lot of folks at CIG who were QA and are now running platform and stuff like that. So these aren't people who are like mysteries. Proxus was a well-known member of the community before he became the god emperor of the back end. But
yeah, Sylvan started as doing something completely different. Then he ended up on Engine Team doing like the Gen 12 and Vulcan stuff, and now he's pretty much leading the VR Strike team when they get it assembled.
So effectively, I would say, generally speaking, that the game is doing well, and as Squadron 42 is released, the people who were being assigned tasks in Squadron, who are no longer working in Squadron, will get released to work on Star Citizen for either QA, for to support other teams, to get trained in working on those things. And we've already seen that process happen. It happened 2 years ago, which is the reason why we had the new map system, the new HUD, like all of the new things, the loot screen that we have. All of those things came from Squadron, from people moving from Squadron to Star Citizen. And according to Jared did an interview like middle of the year last year. He said those team, like I think it was like one of the like Beacon or something like that. Someone talked to them because they were like, what do you Will, is all of this stuff is like 90% of the company working on Squadron? And he was just like, no, but a lot of people are working at Squadron. And
when those Venn diagram overlap most of the time, like
once they work on Squadron, then they get pulled away from Squadron. When that feature of Squadron is done, they're working on, they go back to working on Star Citizen. And then, last year, for instance, a lot of those people were called back to work on features in Squadron to either fix them or refine them or other things. And, see at the end of the year, those people will be moved back to Star Citizen. So we see the new inventory screen, which is in 4.7. We're seeing crafting, which means those people who were working on other things are now back to working on crafting.
It's like a house, right? You can't put up the drywall before you put in the plumbing and the wiring, right? Like some people who do drywall are just waiting to put up the drywall. So, put them on something else for right now, whatever they can do with those skills.
And the concept, the idea that they'll move straight from Squadron 42 Part 1 to Part 2, they might. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, first off, they're human beings. Those people probably have a lot of paid time off that they're going to use after the launch of Squadron. Hopefully, very justified. 2 to 3 months of just like, I'm going to go relax, and I'm going to come back. We'll talk about patches and other things like that. And then when they come back, they'll probably do some fixes, because Squadron 42 is not going to release bug free. No game ever does. But they'll probably do some fixes, balances, and stuff like that for Squadron. Maybe 2 or 3 patches, and then they'll probably start planning for Squadron 42 Part 2. But I don't think we're going to see Squadron 42 Part 2 for another 3 years. And the team that's going to be working on Squadron 42 Part 2 is not going to be the size of this team that worked on Part 1, because Part 1 had to build gameplay mechanics like FPS mechanics and everything in the back end.
The whole the temple is built. We just need to change the colors on the inside.
Exactly. So. You just rearrange the furniture inside the house. That's really what it is. It's going to be the same house that you're 142 Part 1, 2, and 3 is likely not going to have anything other than the slight R&D upgrades. But guess who's pushing those R&D upgrades? Star Citizen. So a lot of those people are going to move into Star Citizen, and Star Citizen will then push that information out. So
yin yang, they need each other.
As weird as it sounds, this is kind of a roundabout way of getting back to the question, but I think what we'll see is that the rest of this year will go well as Squadron people can pull off and get worked on Star Citizen, in terms of feature people. And then down the line, when Squadron 42 Part 2 is being worked on, they'll go back and say, what's the Star Citizen team doing? And they'll pull the good ideas from Star Citizen team and then port that over to Squadron 42, and then work on Part 2 with the new stuff that Star Citizen has helped develop, like Genesis. Guarantee you, Part 1's planets do not use Genesis system. Part 2's planets almost certainly will be using the Genesis system for generation.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
And they're going to be so much better looking in Part 2 than Part 1 because of,
Now, Part 1's planets are definitely going to be a lot more physically curated by hand, so they will look gorgeous, but just that little FOV pie slice. I'm assuming, I don't know how Squadron 42 works, but I'm assuming you could fly anywhere around any planet that you go to.
Yeah.
Like, it's the Star Engine. I don't know how they're, like, are they going to limit us? Are they not?
There'll just be nothing be there. We'll see.
Well, yeah, it'd be bare, but like it'd be out. But it'd still have to be there. A full planet worth of nothing.
Just because you have an F-16 that can go anywhere you want to, it doesn't mean that you're going to fly. You're doing a mission sortie to like Iran right now. Doesn't mean you're going to be like, I'm just going to turn around here and go to India. Like that's not what you do, because there'll be consequences for that. And
I imagine in game they're like, all right, you're now a deserter, so we're going to shoot you down. But I know somebody's going to try to fly outside of the planet and go away from the mission, because you can. It's like I said, and like I said earlier, all games end. In Star Citizen, Squadron 42, there's no end border or zone. You can just keep going forever. So yeah.
And build an outpost when you get there.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. See, people were like making little huts and buildings out of like 32 SU crates out in like, the moons and whatnot. Just like a little roof over like 2 little things. Just put like a chair and some little bits and bobs out there.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being able. So, okay, if we're talking about like new fresh blood and people coming into the game, the Sims crowd of like decorating a house, as soon as they get that ability to build a homestead or to decorate your hangar, and we have all these like thousands of props and bits and bobs, I think there's going to be a lot of new fresh blood looking into this game at that point. So,
I know Logan Plays, a friend of mine, has fallen in love with building in games. And now there's an entire genre of people who like building stuff in games that are just going to be like, Star Citizen has base building, you say. Well, now I'm going to go build this base,
All right, Fallout 76. It's the only thing that's good about it left. I mean,
I still think that game should have been a co-op game.
One last thing before I go is that for VR topic and whatnot.
Sure.
If you're looking for the ultimate visual upgrade in clarity, resolution is the quickest thing. The second most is get a new set of glasses I have had these for 6-7 years, and there's so many micro scratches on these. I just had to make sure I told people about this. But I got a new set in yesterday, and I nearly cried in my Pimax that I'd had for a month or two because of just how crystal clear it actually finally is. So if you've been on a set for a long, long time and you're getting into VR, it would do you well to actually be able to see through your lenses.
Do you recommend the coatings, like the non-reflective and smudge coatings and stuff, or is that a bad idea?
The thing is are you going to be using the glasses to look at VR all day, or are you going to be using them to look at your monitor and go in and out of your house and do day stuff, right? I mean, in theory, yes, you wouldn't technically want that things. It would make your VR viewing experience better, but everything else you would do outside of that would, be a detriment. So if, you rely on, stuff like that, like, because I have bad astigmatism and I get the glint, on lights and stuff if I squint. So, I definitely need, my astigmatism coating. But yeah, so anyways, just one last VR thing is my glasses couldn't even get cleaned anymore. That's how badly micro scratched up the lenses were. So
that, and of course getting those lenses, those prescription lenses,
RX lenses. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's probably why they're scratched up so bad, is because they're just glass lenses touching glass lenses, in a headset is just going to do that over time. So
all right, y'all.
That's all I got.
Thank you so much for hanging out. Make sure you check out Chachi Sanchez and Red J on their sites. The same names, just like there, Chachi_Sanchez and Red J, YouTube, Twitch, all those sorts of things. Red J is just on YouTube. And if you did enjoy this, please leave a comment down below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, thank you. Leave a rating. It's always good to do that. I've been trying to get more people into that side of things. Like the video, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Because we do these live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. We'd love to have you join us live and ask your own questions. And until next time, like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.